Welcome, welcome, welcome to all of you brave, conscious catalysts of the world. Thank you so much to all of my returning viewers and subscribers. I love you guys in this community so much, and I appreciate all of you more than you know. For those of you who are new here, hi, my name is Wendy Mahoney, and I am the host of Raise the Vibe Initiative. It's our goal at Raise the Vibe Initiative to be a leader in the consciousness community, as well as our 5D marketing and business development community. It's my honor to bring our audience conscious leaders in the community and conscious solutions to the current obstacles that we are currently and collectively facing during this transitional time on the planet. Today's topic, overcoming challenging patterns while exploring the subconscious mind. My amazing guest, I am delighted to welcome Coach Laura Gevanter. Laura is the creator of the Subconscious Energy Transformational Method, or SET method. She is an intuitive transformational coach, a Psych-K and emotion code facilitator, and a subconscious specialist. She holds a psychology degree from the University of Massachusetts and a life coaching certification from IPEC in New York City. She has completed her health and wellness advanced Psych-K training in New York City. So without further ado, thank you so much, Laura, for being here today. We would
Thank you. Delighted to be here, Wendy. Thank you.
thrilled to have you. I'd love for you maybe just to say hello and tell everyone a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Well, you did a perfect introduction to what I do. So I am a certified life coach. That's kind of how I got into this. And then I just, as my career evolved, I decided to specialize more in the subconscious, since that is basically everything. You want to create any kind of change, you have to work with the subconscious. So that kind of fascinated me. And I went on to learn some different modalities, which just blended so beautifully what I was already doing and what I just do intuitively, that it just kind of evolved. And that's when I created the SET method, subconscious energy transformation.
Well, it is an incredible modality that you have created, and I've been lucky enough to be able to, get a chance to work with you myself, which was really an amazing experience. And perhaps later we can talk a little bit about that experience that I had. But one thing I will say to the guests, as we're all overcoming obstacles, myself included, I found that even after one session, there was really a remarkable change that I could see right away, which was really awesome. So thank you for that, Laura.
Oh, it was my pleasure.
Yeah. So, I'm interested to know what brought you into the work. Where did you sort of find your passion in what you're doing, and what led you to where you are today?
So it was very interesting. I was one of these people from a very early age. I just had a knowing about things, just very, very young. Nobody told me. I didn't learn it somewhere, but I just had a very strong knowing about things, my very, very strong intuition, and yet didn't know I was supposed to do something with it. Didn't want to be a therapist. I kind of ruled out what the options were of what to do. So I had a whole other career before I got into this, but there was still something gnawing away at me saying, listen, you need to do this. This comes easy to me. People always told me you should be a therapist, and I had clarity on things. But as many of us do, we don't really listen to it because we're just, I don't know, whether we don't have the confidence or we don't know what that looks like, we follow another path, but it keeps getting louder and louder. If your soul is supposed to do something, it'll keep getting louder until you listen to it. I finally heard about life coaching, which really resonated with me. Got certified in that, did that for a number of years, doing law of attraction coaching, which also works with energy. So I was very, very drawn to working at the energetic level of things. Did that for a while. I loved it, but I wanted something more. I wanted to be able to offer process to people to really assist them and not leave it so much on them to go and, okay, we've had this session, go do the work, go do your homework and then come back and tell me how you did. I really wanted something to really help facilitate change in people. Heard about Psych-K, very curious about it. did the first level of training and I said, oh my God, I found my thing. Everything that I heard made sense, resonated in my body as if I was remembering something that I may have learned in previous lifetimes. It was this very, very strong resonance that, oh my God, this makes perfect sense. So I went on, did the advanced levels of training, which you need to do in order to facilitate remote sessions. And just so people know, this is all done through muscle testing. So in order to do remote sessions, it requires a higher level of training for this. And then emotion code also works with the subconscious, also uses muscle testing, but approaches it from a very different way. And when I just found that these modalities just worked so beautifully together, tied in with my own kind of intuition, it just kind of blossomed. I could not have seen the road that it was going to take, but it kind of like I sort of listened to it and followed the little breadcrumbs that led me to where I am now, which is a real incorporation of my own, inner gifts of just kind of having clarity, intuition, and kind of, I never say that I'm a channel because I just, for some reason, I just don't resonate with that. But I definitely feel like I'm a conduit and I'm a vessel for just information to come through me. And, I will say in a session, very loudly, I'll hear something and I'll say, listen, I'm just going to throw out what I'm getting. If it resonates, great. If this sounds like you're getting a yes, if not, and most of the time, it's exactly what the person needs to hear. So it's this like co-creation kind of process of somebody showing up wanting to do the work, me tapping into the field, which has all the energy that we need to tap into, and then just kind of working through and just working with the subconscious, partnering with it, getting information, imprinting new information, and you can create really, really incredible change in a short period of time, which that's exactly what you experienced.
It was very amazing. I was amazed at what you picked up um, very quickly. It is a little bit complex. I know, like you were showing me a lot of different charts and how you kind of figure things out, and obviously you're an expert, with it. It did look like, there's a few different channels there, right? And so actually that kind of leads me into my next question. How what is the subconscious? How does it affect us in our day to day? What's the best way that you can explain that, to the viewers?
Sure. Well, the subconscious is pretty much everything. It rules our life pretty much 95% of the time, which to a lot of people, they hear this and they're shocked because they're like, wait a minute, no, but I'm conscious. I'm conscious. The thing is that the subconscious is where you can look at the subconscious mind like a computer that gets programmed. What goes in is what goes out. From birth to around 7 years old, and some even say it's even earlier. It's when you're in the womb that it's actually really the programming starts. You're in what's known as a theta state, which is basically when the computer's being programmed. So everything that you are witnessing, everything you're experiencing, everything that you are hearing is being imprinted in the computer. These are where your beliefs come from. This is where your view of yourself and your view of the world comes from. Is the world a safe place? Is the world a dangerous place? Am I worthy? Am I, you know, that's when it all gets programmed. And this will continue to play out for the rest of your life until, or some people never do, but if there's something that's really not working, or there's something you want to change, and then you actually take some steps to go in and rewire, reprogram the computer. But that's exactly the work that I do with these modalities, is we can actually go in, not only find out what's been programmed in the subconscious, but we can actually go in and very quickly and easily and safely make changes to it. So the subconscious is, you want to be friends with your subconscious, because people think, they're so afraid of it. They've heard Freud talk about, oh, we don't want to go there, it's the dark place where all this scary stuff is. No, actually, your subconscious is just doing its job, and you can input whatever you want to show up in your external life. So what it does internally is it goes to match externally what it's been programmed. So in other words, if you want to find out what area of your life, you can look at any area of your life and you can find out what the programming is. Is it working? Is it not working? Do you have issues with relationships? What are your beliefs about relationships? What did you experience about that? And you will always see a correlation between your programming and your outer life experience.
Yeah, it's amazing. Certainly not an easy thing though to try to determine. For me, I noticed there was a particular block that has come up for me for most of my life. I like to think that I'm somebody on the path and that I'm doing the work and yet, although I thought that I have worked through so many of these things and done a repatterning, this issue kept coming up for me. You determined it very quickly, which was incredible. I certainly could not have probably figured out, what that was. So, for somebody that might be running into a challenge or seeing a block, how would we maybe be able to sort of correlate where it would be coming from, or how could we determine something like that?
So we find out well, there's a couple of ways we can approach it. So let me just explain quickly what Psyche, just how they work, and then I can give you an example. So with Psyche, there's many, many, many things you can do with it. You could really go deep. The two main processes I use with Psyche is one, to find out stress triggers. So this is usually past trauma or past experience that you've had that it basically got stuck, right? That experience is locked in the subconscious. So whenever you either experience a similar event or even just think about it, your body, because the subconscious is always in the present, your body will react as if it's happening right now. So that's how you get triggered. You think about something that may have happened many years ago, your subconscious reacts to it now. The other time that I use this is for limiting beliefs. So people want to create a certain change in their life. They want to accomplish something. They're always coming up with blocks. Well, let's look at what would you like? What would you like to do? I want this thing, right? So we create a statement. And then usually it's the one that's the furthest thing from what someone's experienced right now. Like I am confident, and someone's just like, oh my God, no, like they don't resonate. Then that's exactly what it is. Okay, that's exactly what we need to imprint. What we do is we muscle test that statement. I have a high level of confidence. If the subconscious does not agree with that, the body will it'll the muscle testing will go weak, because it's not what's been programmed, so it causes a stress response in the body. We say, oh great, now we can actually change that to a belief that is now true for you. And the way, just very quickly, the way we do that is that we go into a whole brain state, which means that both hemispheres of the brain are in optimal communication, and it's more receptive to receiving new information. So we can go into the whole brain state very quickly, imprint this new belief, you repeat it over and over again, and now we can post test it while you'll say it, and now it tests strong. Now the subconscious believes this to be true for you. Okay, so the same thing, the way we do is a stress trauma response is you would just reperceive the thought of some event that happened from this whole brain state. And what happens is it just becomes a neutral event that happened in your life, and there's no emotional response anymore. So there's no trigger in the body. Okay, so that's a significant part. And then with emotion code, we could ask if someone has a situation in their life that they're constantly upping against, God, why can't I have this relationship? All my relationships, I attract the wrong partner, or someone always leaves me. We can find out, are there trapped emotions in the body that's contributing to this? And then we can find out, the subconscious will tell us what they are, and then we can clear them. So basically, it's talking to someone, finding out what they want, finding out the challenges that they have. They don't have to know where it comes from. They don't even have to specifically know what it is. It's just, why is it that I keep procrastinating on this thing? We have this dialogue with the subconscious, and it tells us everything we need to know.
It's amazing how quickly you were able to find that. I've worked with a few different people that have done various different forms of therapy. I have done yeah, like, EMDR. I believe there was another one called the Blessed that seemed to work quite well as well, sort of a different thing. But it was kind of amazing how quickly you were able to kind of identify, um, just what it was. Like I was amazed by that because I think I have in other modalities or things that I've worked with, it's taken a really long time to find out kind of like what that thing would be. You could go, I've gone probably to therapy for a year and still wasn't able to clear, what we
Right.
clear like in an hour, which is a miracle, Laura. I mean, it really, it's like I'm amazed. I'm flabbergasted. So, I'm really excited for people to hear about this because although there's lots of great methods out there and there's lots of great therapy and things like that, I think having the information to know that there are different things that you can try is really empowering for lots of people, especially if they have been doing a lot of therapy and maybe they're not getting to the place where they want to be getting to. So, on that, like what what types of clients or um do you and you don't have to, indulge, but I guess what are the types of people that would come to you, or what types of things can you kind of help people with?
It really runs the gamut. All kinds of stuff. Whether money comes up a lot, believe it or not, people that are struggling with money, they cannot just get beyond the lack. They find themselves constantly in the same situation. Money is very deeply rooted. So it's not just, oh, I just can't make money or I can't do it. There are beliefs, there's worthiness. That's the really interesting thing about this work is that while it is really, really powerful in a short period of time, there are layers to it. And what I found is that what the person thinks it is, it's usually not. It's kind of like what's on the top, what they think it is, it's probably not. So if someone comes to me and they're like, oh, it's this, it's like, okay. Unless we find out what's beneath that, and unless we kind of work on this, you're still going to have these top level issues. And that I think is the difference from what you're talking about with other modalities. Just say, for example, they all have their place. I'm not saying one is better than the other, although many people do come to me after trying everything else and nothing else has worked. But the thing is, I'm just going to say talk therapy, for example, traditional psychotherapy is dealing with only the conscious part of the brain, which we're only in 2 to 5% of the time. So you can talk and you can get some relief and you can feel support. But unless you're engaging the subconscious, you're not going to get the lasting change that you're going to get with these modalities that actually go in and communicate with the subconscious. So that is a big difference. So there are layers to it, and it's really finding out what it is beneath. So money is one of them that's very common. Worthiness. If I just tell you how many people just they don't feel worthy. They don't feel worthy of money. They don't feel worthy of relationships. They don't feel worthy of, I mean, you name it. I mean, that's a huge one. Weight loss. I actually, a couple of times a year, I do a group weight loss. Um, it's like a month-long group thing where we do some individual sessions and we also do a group because that also, and I call it lose weight from the inside out because it's not just the mindset of, oh, I want to lose weight. There's so much programming that people wouldn't even think is related to weight. They've had trauma in their life where it wasn't safe for them to be thin. It was actually we form a protective layer around to keep ourselves safe. So there's other deep-seated issues that unless you address them, the outer is going to be much more difficult to obtain. I just the other day, I have a client who I was working with someone who has had a porn addiction for many, many, many years. That was new. That's never come up before. But in one session that we worked on that a week later, he's told me he's had no desire whatsoever. He's actually really disgusted by it. And this was something that he's had for 30 years. It's just when you kind of like find out what is it that's causing this and you can transform that, it can be very quick. And that's not to say that everything is, 1, 2, 3 sessions. There are people that continue, you know, people that have deep-seated stuff or things that are kind of like interrelated and they really want to conquer something. But I mean, it's really runs the gamut. It's basically any area in someone's life that they can't get a grasp on, that constantly they're challenged. It's a perfect candidate for this.
Well, what you and pardon me, what you and I worked on has been something that's been with me for 30 years.
Mm.
And I am incredibly amazed with the result. Like it's I can't believe it actually. I am incredibly amazed. So I'm, whatever we did with the subconscious, does the subconscious go back to its old program, or once you've changed the
Well, that's a great question. Okay, perfect question. There's two reasons why it would.
okay.
One, if there's a secondary gain that you're getting by not getting rid of a certain behavior. And what that means is that you're actually getting some benefit from keeping this behavior. For example, I'll go back to the money issue. For someone who's constantly in debt or getting in trouble, and then there's someone else who's bailing them out, that's the way of them getting attention, maybe from someone that they weren't getting attention from before. They're getting bailed out all the time. So they're getting a benefit by not dealing with the situation. Same thing with someone with a chronic illness. They may be getting a secondary gain because they're getting sympathy from people, or they're getting people helping them where they didn't in their lives. So if there's a secondary gain that you're getting, then it may come back. But here's the fascinating thing. We actually have in Psyche that they're called balances. There is a balance to discover, is there a secondary gain? And then how can we satisfy this gain by also getting rid of this particular behavior? So we can work or anything that comes up, we can actually work around and find out. So that's actually taking it one step deeper. So not only are we getting rid of the behavior, we're getting rid of the secondary gain that you're keeping by not getting rid of that behavior. And the other time is if it's no longer needed. So a certain belief, if it's no longer needed, then it could go away. But that's something that you wouldn't really be aware of. You can retest for a belief and it can test weak, but if it's something that's no longer relevant in your life. But other than that, they're permanent. I've tested stuff with myself that I did very early in my Psyche training, and it's years later, it's still testing strong. And I'm like, wow, this is really cool. You do a lot of work on yourself when you do this training.
When I did my hypnotherapy training, I did it because I'd worked with a hypnotherapist for a couple of years. I did get some great results, and I wanted to learn how to do it on myself. And I saw the benefit, right? So, of course, why not? Um, there's one other question there that comes to mind, though. When we're talking about the subconscious, and then, I guess it depends. What you're studying or what your beliefs are, but some people also refer to a super conscious, right? A super conscious.
Mhm.
They're similar things, or are they two different things?
Two different. So we have the conscious mind, we have the subconscious, and then the superconscious. The superconscious is basically your higher self that knows. There are different ways you can describe it. Your higher self, your spirit, your connection to the divine. I mean, however you want it, whatever you're comfortable referring to, but that is the place that knows what's best for your highest good. So what's really beautiful about Psyche is there is a permission protocol before we make any change. We ask, is this safe and appropriate? And we're basically asking the superconscious, is this change that we're making in the subconscious, is it safe and appropriate for you? Because I may think, you know, well, no, I should rephrase that. I don't know what's best for you, and you may not know what's best for you in a conscious level. You may think, oh, if I just change this, my life is going to fall into place and be perfect. And your higher self is saying, you know what, Wendy, you kind of need to go through this because you're going to get a really valuable lesson. And then your life is really going to take off. Or there may be something else that you need to address first. This is not the priority. So this is not the time to do this. Let's do this instead. So we actually do communicate with the superconscious in this psyche balances. That's kind of like our little check. Like, do you sure you want me to go in there and change the computer?
Oh,
So yes, there's definitely a difference between the two of them.
wow, that really layers. And interesting because I was wondering how that sort of all connects. So thanks for clarifying that.
Sure.
So, I guess I have had a lot of friends of mine currently that have some different things showing up for them. Physical illness. We're seeing in the maybe not so much in the direct collective, but obviously right now with what we're dealing with on a planetary scale, a lot of people dealing with mental illness, or these sort of mental um, things that are really uncomfortable. How could somebody perhaps, well, maybe we could first ask the question, why would some of these things show up for somebody? Maybe if we were looking at what could be some of those subconscious things that would make these things sort of manifest for them in the physical.
You're talking about like mental illness or just
Oh, like just I think illness in general. If something is showing up in our body, whether it be physically or mentally,
mm,
what could be some of the things perhaps on a subconscious level that may have to be addressed in order for us to,
okay.
yeah.
So anytime some illness, even a chronic injury is showing up, it's the subconscious trying to speak to you. It's trying to get your attention. Always the case that it starts emotionally. I mean, yes, you can injure yourself and so forth. Of course, you can have an accident, but it's trying to get your attention. So we can do is we can find out, are there trapped emotions, which is what emotion code and body code, which is what I do as well. It's just a deeper level of actually asking the body, is there a reason for this symptom? We can go and we can find out, is it emotionally based? Sometimes there are dark energies. I mean, this is kind of gets in like the real woo-woo stuff, but this work is woo-woo. So there's no other way of getting around it. I mean, you're dealing with energy, you're dealing with the field, you're dealing with energies. Sometimes there are dark energies and there are entities that can come through people, that's through alcohol, through being in low vibrational places, being in there's different reasons why an entity or a dark energy can come in and they can perpetuate certain behavior, certain mental illness. It can perpetuate, someone seeking out porn or alcohol or whatever, and we can identify what that is and we can clear it. We can ask, is there something causing this? Then are there associated things that we need to look at? And we keep doing it and we find out. And then you get this really interesting kind of thread of like, wow, there's some emotional stuff going on. You have stuck emotions from, can be any time in this life. It could also be something you absorbed from someone else or even inherited from someone else. These stuck emotions can come from so many different places. And yet they're still stuck in our body as energy and they can cause all kinds of havoc. They can cause physical problems as well as emotional problems. So we can communicate, we can find out the source. If it wants to know, we always ask, does the subconscious need us to know this? If it doesn't, we can just clear it. If it does, we ask more questions. When did it occur? What was the occasion? Was it absorbed from somebody else? Was it inherited? Was there an associated life event that happened? So we have this whole dialogue and it lets us know what information it wants revealed and we can find it. So it's like solving a mystery in a way. And I think that's why I love it so much is that I'm the eternal curiosity, just always like, wow, this is like really fascinating. And then I mean, every single session, I'm kind of blown away as to what's revealed and then like connecting dots for people. And it's very satisfying because it is empowering to people to know this is not their fault or they're not doing things wrong or they're not broken. I mean, that to me is what's really important is that people understand, first of all, so much of this, especially the early childhood programming, they had no control over and many things in life that just kind of life presents is not their fault. So I think that's a huge thing for people to understand.
Like, I was shocked. I was shocked at what we had found when we were working through. for me, something I never ever, I never would have thought, and I guess it just gets logged in there, and we just, we don't always know what it is. And I guess when it comes to friends of mine that are dealing with physical illness, um, I guess it also could be trauma based, right? Like if you've gone through a lot of different trauma in your life, and then we soldier through and we think we're going through the best we can, right? But it is going to get stored probably somewhere.
100%.
And then that too could probably manifest then into kind of like a physical dis-ease.
Absolutely. I would say about 75% of my clients have had some sort of physical abuse, many times sexual abuse when they were younger. It just comes up, or an alcoholic parent, or I mean, like major early childhood trauma. And it plays out, their parent was absent, so that they have abandonment issues, and then they have this manifest, and they're so these things are very, very definitely connected. So most of the time, the clients that I work with have had definitely trauma earlier in their life. A lot of sexual trauma. I mean, it's mind blowing how I just, when it breaks my heart to see this, but at least these people are aware of it and want to do the work, and there is a way to heal.
And reset that, that program. I cannot believe that mine was reset like in that respect. I'm still flabbergasted, but there is hope for us.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what changes maybe have you seen with some of your clients after you've worked with them for a little bit? Maybe you could
Well,
tell.
I'll tell you a really interesting story. This was someone who worked with me for a little longer than typical. Okay. This is somebody who she was, by the time she was 50 years old, she had had two heart attacks and diabetes, which is very unusual at that age. She is actually one person that did have quite a bit of early sexual trauma with more than one. I mean, just really devastating. And coincidentally, before we started working together, she had had a brain scan done. I'm not sure why. It was probably maybe just part of all the medical tests that she had. And we worked together. It was over a couple of months. It was twice a week. It was pretty intense. She was very into this. She loved the work. She had the financial means. It was a combination. This is unusual. But the reason why that I bring it up is that she had a brain scan after we worked together, not for any particular reason other than, I guess, this is, they were doing a follow-up, and they saw the trauma that she had originally was gone. So she actually had, the doctor said it's gone. She had physical proof that her brain had changed from the work that we had done. Now, that was so incredible. I mean, I actually sent it to the creator of Psyche. I said, listen, I don't know how often you get the feedback from this, but this was really incredible. So that just showed me that, now, granted, I said this was over a longer period of time, and this was, we did a lot of work because she had a lot of physical things going on, between the heart attacks and the diabetes. But what you're able to do, which is really incredible, is you're able to get messages in the body, and you can ask, what is the message from the heart attack? What is the message that the heart may have that's trying to get out there? So that's really incredible. But just all kinds of, I mean, people that having stress triggers, anxiety about certain things, where they try to get that back. They try to like think of this thing and get that feeling back, and it's gone. Like I've even had someone tell me, she described it as like the door is locked and she couldn't get in there anymore to get that feeling of, I mean, not that you'd want to get that anxiety again, but she tried to get that feeling again and it was gone. It's like it was erased. So that's what people report back to me. And I've experienced it myself, is that you'll notice in hindsight, something that you used to kind of be a trigger for you, or when you would think about something, it would cause a certain fear, a certain anxiety in the body. You may still have the thought, because that may be habitual for a while, but there's no trigger in the body. And you're just like, whoa, whoa, you mean I don't care about this anymore? I mean, that's the kind of thing people tell me that, wow, just went away. And even the most skeptical, like every so often I'll get someone that's just like, yeah, someone suggested I reach out to you, and I don't know, how does this work? They're like so not like on board. And then, I'm like, okay, well, I'll just, I'll do the best we can. I'm still gonna do. And then like, I'll get an email a week later saying, oh my God, I've never felt better in my entire life. So it's that kind of thing. I never know. I can never really say who's the one that's going to really have the most impactful benefit. And then you just don't know.
Well, that was certainly my experience, you know. And so I'm so glad that I was able to have it and speak to it because I could tell people if you're watching this and you are struggling, um, you know, certainly there's all kinds of methods out there and I can appreciate all of them, but I too am someone who likes to really think outside the box and try different things. I think that there's so much more than sort of what we're taught in the mainstream, and working with you was a miracle. You're a miracle for me, Laura. Honestly, you are. And
Well, I'm so glad we were able to do a session before this, because it just brings a whole other level to it than just talking about something conceptually.
exactly. And and I can speak to the viewers as well and say, this is a great opportunity as well if you're in your healing journey, to reach out to Laura, and you do have a great manner. You make people feel super comfortable, and just for people to know that you're there.
And I
Yeah,
make it fun. I make sure we laugh.
for sure. So on that, thank you again so much, Laura, for being with us here at Raise the Vibe. And if any of the viewers out there are interested in booking Laura, I will leave all of her stuff in the description box. But you can also, and thank you to from Laura, but you guys can also enter Raise the Vibe for 20% off your first session, or I guess they can contact you, Laura, directly,
Yeah,
and then they could just mention Raise the Vibe.
yeah. Be great.
Yeah, so guys, I hope that this gives you some hope, that as we're kind of evolving and working through that, we've got all these amazing folks like Laura to help us along the way. So on that, thank you everyone so much for being here. I love all of you guys. Laura, thanks for being here.
Thank you,
And
Wendy. Thank you, everyone.
we can connect again soon.
Okay.
All right, everyone. Have a great night. Bye.
Bye.